Hi, I wanted to make this video to demonstrate an exercise which I use for expanding and maintaining range. A lot of people ask me all the time, Zach, how is it that you can play so high? And it's pretty much this exercise is what I've used to build my upper register. There's a couple other things that have been helpful, but this is the main thing. So let's talk about the exercise. It's a really simple exercise. All you're going to do is you're going to play arpeggios. You're going to play the first, third, fifth of the chord, and you're going to hold the fifth out for as long as you want. And then you're going to take a break, and you're going to play the next one up a half step. And you're going to repeat until you get as high as you can. You can also use it to just sort of build up to a break point and work out a particular spot in your register. There's a lot of different ways to use it. So the key to this exercise is playing very quietly. This is for two reasons. Number one, when you play quietly, you're playing with a smaller aperture, which is what's necessary for playing in the upper register. So it, I think, naturally sets you up with the right sort of embouchure to play up high. The second reason is because you're not using as much musculature to keep the aperture small for playing high. You're not using as much effort. In other words, you're not going to tire yourself out as quickly. I think this is important because I think it's important to practice this exercise with fresh chops, because when you're very tired, you sort of you play wrong sometimes. You'll add extra pressure, extra air to play high, and this is, I think, practicing the technique more than anything. The other reason that it's good to not tire yourself out very quickly is because you might want to do this exercise more than once a day. I myself have already done this exercise a couple of times today. In fact, I just recorded this video about 30 minutes ago and had a bit of a Freudian slip in the middle, and I had to stop and re-record. So it was very disappointing. Anyway, so I'm going to start playing the exercise, and I'll talk a little bit at a couple points in the middle. For the purposes of this video, I'm not going to hold the last note out as long, and I'm not going to take as long a breaks in between notes. So, one other important thing to mention is as you start to get higher, sometimes it's useful to add the octave on top. I think this is useful for practicing up high because it allows you to get higher without necessarily having to be able to articulate as high, so you can start working out even higher registers before you can articulate high registers. I think it makes things a little bit easier. One last thing. So usually I'll start this exercise on G, either second line G or G on top of the staff, depending on what part of my register I really want to work out. Today I'm going to start on second line G, and I'm going to go all the way up. So here we go. Okay, I'm going to talk a bit more here. So, one thing that I don't do on this exercise is I don't focus on tone. I focus on playing as relaxed as possible. So my thought on the matter is, if you focus on playing relaxed, it's easier for you to play relaxed. So I like to imagine that whatever note I'm playing is very easy for me, even if it's not. And in so doing, I think that I get used to playing in a more relaxed, easy way. I'm less likely to sort of bear down on a note if I don't need to, or waste energy. It's, I think, easier to play more efficiently. To this end, I do not focus on breathing a large amount during this exercise. I don't breathe to 100% full. I just kind of take a relaxed breath, because I find if I breathe too full, then I've just sort of got some built-up tension, and that's not the point of this exercise to me. So, carrying on. Okay, where was I at? Alright, so now I'm going to start adding the octave in, so I can start working out up high. Once we get to around A, it's very possible I will hit my break. I usually have a little bit of trouble around that note. I may sort of stop and try that one a couple of times until I sort of zero in on where I want it to be. If I can't get it, I'll just move on. So if you're playing this exercise and you hit sort of the top of your range, and you know that you can't play any higher, what I would do is I would maybe back it down a few half steps and then repeatedly play in that register a little bit until you start to get tired. You don't want to tire yourself out. You really, I mean, if you want to get maximum effect out of this exercise, you do it a couple of times a day. It doesn't take long. It's really easy to do. And by doing it multiple times a day, you just get a lot more practice in. And sometimes upper register practice is kind of hard to do because you tire yourself out. You can't do it as often, and your progress is slower. So you do this a couple of times a day, your progress actually happens pretty quickly. So right now, it's to give you an idea how quiet I'm playing, it's 11:55, and my wife is asleep in the room next to me. So I'm playing pretty quietly. Right into the mic, but pretty quietly. Okay, so moving on to up high. So I'm actually feeling pretty good tonight on this exercise. Usually it is not possible for me to play an E above double C that quietly. So usually as we get into the extreme registers, I have to add a little bit of extra air in order to even get those notes. So it can get a little bit louder. Okay, so that's G above double C, which is, I think we can pretty much all agree, way past the point of reason. So why would you even practice up there? Number one, because it's there. It's fun. I like playing high notes. I think it's a good time. Music is a personal thing. You should do what it is that you want to do. So anytime everyone says, why would you even do that? Why don't you do other things? Because it's my damn trumpet. Number two, and I think this is the more important reason, when you can play a G above double C, a note that is much more important to play, like the G above high C, is seems much less daunting. And so much of playing in the upper register, I think, is mental, that I think this is really important. And also, if you're playing relaxed, you generally have better tone. You know, less tension in your sound is a good thing. So I think it helps. I always remember back when I first started playing, the G on top of the staff seemed so high to me. But when I started to be able to play high C's and high D's and stuff, that G just was like, oh, that's G. It didn't seem like such a big deal, and of course I was much better at playing it. So I think in that respect it's very useful, because, you know, when you play something like a double C, it doesn't seem that daunting anymore if you can play a triple C. I mean, that was pretty loud. Probably especially loud because I didn't turn the gain down on my microphone just then. But it really wasn't that hard. So I think that's, you know, especially playing high sometimes can be hard and uncomfortable. But when it's easy, it's just a hell of a lot more fun to play. So that is my bit on how to practice the upper register. I hope you found it entertaining and informative.